A lot of people are scared of the gym. Not, like, the first step is going to the gym. I'm like, look. Don't think like, I gotta get to the gym. Think about, I can't wait to get to the gym.
I feel like people just get intimidated when they get there by all the big brolic people like walking in there.
Yeah.
And there's a misconception too in going to the gym is thinking that all of a sudden you're gonna be this big brolic person that's like 225 with a six pack.
That's not gonna happen?
No, everything in life is consistency. No matter what we're talking about, if you're not gonna be consistent in something, there's not gonna create any change.
Right.
As we know, those are the building blocks of anything. So it's consistency, one brick at a time, and then boom, now your house is built. You can't think of I'm just gonna build a house just cause, but you're not building a strong foundation.
Speaking of consistency, like you're running for mayor, you're a city councilman, but you're also a family man.
Correct. Correct.
How do you stay consistent in balancing those things out?
Well, I think right now is my kids are grown, so I have adult children, so they're 25, 26, and 28. So, I think right now running for mayor allows me that balance. I don't think I would be able to run if they were younger. Growing up, I was a young dad, and for me, it was important to carve out time for them. You have to be intentional and carve out time. So what we would do, my wife and I had kind of like a schedule, and so I was in charge of school and academics and all the school meetings, and my wife was in charge of all the medical. And then I also, not only was I working, but I was going back to school, and so you have to find those times. So while I was going to Trinity, Sundays were my day. Like the only day I could do homework was on Sundays, and I would just go early in the morning and spend 12 to 14 hours on Sundays and just bang it all out, right? Like just focus on that. So I think the goal of what I'm trying to say is just like scheduling and being intentional to it. And of course, life happens, right? So you can't follow everything, according to the script. But as long as you have a general outline or a skeleton of what you want to do, then you can make it happen.
You're in a position of leadership in the city council, right? But you are trying to elevate and you're trying to be in a greater position of leadership. You're trying to be the mayor. The mayor is like, the head honcho of the city.
Right.
He's the guy who, makes things happen for the city.
Right.
And you're a person of color. You're Latino, you're Boricua.
Yes.
You being a person of color in that position, what does it mean for you, but what does it also mean for the city?
Well, I think what I want people to take away with is one of the root questions was like being the head honcho, and we got to flip that on its head. To me, the mayor position is not about being at the top. It's actually being at the bottom. In my first day, we're going to change every single organizational chart, and we're going to put the people at the top. The truth is, if everyone focuses on the job and what's best for the people, then we can start to see progress and hold people accountable, right? But if everything is always floating in the direction of a head honcho, using that language, then you're always going to be at the behest of what that head honcho wants. But what I think makes me unique is my personal experience, right? Like I walk these streets, like I would have to walk by here. I had summer youth programs in this building. And so, those challenges and obstacles give you a unique lens that you can't get from a book. You only can learn it by experiencing it. And so that way, when you deliver policies, you know how it should be delivered for the people, right? Oftentimes politicians create policies and hope and wish that it works, right? If you don't follow through or you don't know how it's delivered, how are you going to know?
110%. Just knowing that people's voices are going to be heard,
right?
That right there gives a certain comfort to voters,
right?
And to people knowing like, wow, he looks just like me. I'm going to be more intent. I'm going to be listening more to policies because now I have a representation of someone like me,
right?
Compared to like I compare it to movies right now. For example, the Miles Morales, the Black Spider-Man is the biggest thing. Black Panther. Just now seeing that, or even like the Coco Melons, those little things create such a difference. And then now I want to flip the pyramid over, not from the bottom, but put the people back on the top, and it creates the change that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So I understand that completely.
So I want to switch gears here. You were talking about entertainment. Donald, you are the owner of a streaming company. You own a couple feature films. You have over 300 different platforms available to you. How do you manage that?
A lot of people start business and they dive right in without even understanding the business. Before I dump in, I'm going to learn it. I got celebrity relationships to where I was remaking songs. First remake song I did was Chubb Rock's on Treat 'Em Right. So I put my daughter up there, and I did a video, and I started doing my research now. Now I want to get this exposed. I have a nonprofit called Save Our Schools for Our Kids Foundation. So anything I do goes back to the nonprofit, but I wanted all the money from that song to go back to the kids. So now as me doing my research to identify the business, you know, everybody's favorite platform come up, YouTube. So now when I did my homework on the monetization, on how would you make money off this, so you letting me upload my content on the platform for free. What's the strings attached to it now? You don't get the rights to your content. They telling you what to do with your content in order for you to make the penny off the dollar off your content.
They're making money off creators and artists who are coming together, trying to put art together, trying to put these pieces together so that way they can deliver something, you know, meaningful to the world. It's about giving something back to the world. Even though both of you guys are kind of in different fields, right, on different paths, you're still trying to get to your end goal. You're still trying to get to the goal of trying to make an impact, and before you go to sleep for a lifetime, leave a message that can transcend lifetimes. And I feel like all of us as artists are trying to do that, you know, as storytellers, creators, whatever you do. I understand what you're saying, because I feel like at the end of the day, beauty and art was taken away because of money. Art is not about that, you know. It's about trying to create a connection with somebody that transcends language, right? When you are able to make a product, or you're able to use your voice, that within itself, money can't buy that.
A lot of people have to really learn things to unlearn it, to create their own ways, because we're just going to be feeding the economy to not get nowhere, not be successful. Like on these platforms, like just to go back to YouTube, you know that if you drop a content up there and you get 500 views, you know you're not making no money. But now the biggest question is, how much YouTube made off you? They made over $2 million off your 500 views.
To add on to the YouTube, where, as we know, algorithms change every 4 years. It was very easy for a lot of people to get money off video game streaming. Now they changed the algorithm where video game streaming is on the lower scale of how to get monetized and paid compared to like the kid shows, musician, artists. Again, they're on the lower scale. It's something that's more informational. So depending on your audience, your content, your subscriber count, and how many people are constantly viewing it, they're putting all those things in certain categories, and they're calculating how much money you should be making, even though everyone's creating content.
And the secret is that's their system. So what I did with my platform is I've actually, I learned the business so in depth to where I cut out the middleman. So I'm the owner of my platform and the servers, and I just have developers to develop what I foresee that I want happen on this platform.
So you bought your domain and everything as well?
Everything is locked in. So it's like everybody gonna have the freedom to upload your content. You're gonna be able to see what your content makes from day one. You're earning right off the rip. You know, what my platform is doing is giving that access to people so they can make revenue. And it goes back to further than just getting your own domain. It's like you really have to understand the ownerships and where to keep things at home, keep things to where they can't come in and steal it, whether the trademarks, the copyrights, putting those factors in place, because we're the creators and we got to know how to keep that creation at home.
And Nick, you and I was at the premiere.
Right.
It was a successful premiere.
Yeah,
it was huge. One of the things that we touched on was creativity, right? But also trying to make an impact on the city. Because I tell you what, from personal experiences, I know a couple people that lost their lives over bullshit. You know, things that should have never happened. Every time I watch the news, I get upset because it's like, instead of showing the state of CT all this negativity, you know, let's show them some positive things that's going on here in the city. But yeah, I have to, you know, see that this person who I knew, who I worked out with, passed away over nothing, you know, and then this young girl lost her life over some bullshit, over some petty stuff that, you know, that didn't even need to go down. But if elected, how are you trying to ensure that we have a better tomorrow, so that way we don't have to go to sleep at night worrying about who's next?
What I want everyone to really take away is that, you know, the experiences of trauma and the bullshit, if you will, you know, of people passing away over that, is that, you know, I experienced that at a very young age, at the age of 8 years old, right across the street from Bellevue Square. my grandfather was murdered. What that meant for me is that the next day, my world changed, right? My grandfather was the protector of our family, and I lost that. So like the wall of safety was taken out from underneath me, and from that point, my life changed. It echoed for my lifetime. My buddies and I started a nonprofit 15 years ago, and now, we just started off with a dream, right? We were just serving 30 kids and playing basketball in the gym, shoebox budget. And now we've built that to over 2,000 kids that we serve a year. Every hour that they're in practice or that they're in sports program, that's an hour less of risk factors. That's an hour less of exposure to the negativity. That's an hour less. Oftentimes you hear something fancy, it's called a zero-sum game, right? The zero-sum games means like, if this raises up here, this has to drop because it has to level to zero, right? So it's a balance, right? And so this is a zero-sum game. It is, because the more protective factors you build, the less risk factors. So what we have to do is build protective factors. Youth sports could be one of them, but not all young people like sports. They maybe want to be in movie production, right? They may want to do art. They may want to do STEM. They may want to play the violin, right? Like, these are the things that we have to expose ourselves, but oftentimes what we see for success, right, is a cookie cutter approach to success, right? Like, okay, you either gonna play ball or you're gonna be a rapper, right? And that's it. Or
you want to stick to one thing.
Yeah, you gotta get straight A's and get a college scholarship, and there's no like middle ground. And like, what is that? Right? Like, let's provide every single opportunity that we have for these young people, and let's not create red tapes and barriers in that way. The larger scale issue, right, is that traditionally you see someone like Donald Trump and he gets elected to be president because of his financial background, right? And we think that finances and money equate to good leadership. But how is that working for us? Right? It doesn't seem to be working. And so in Hartford, you have the biggest wealth gap, right? You also have the biggest achievement gap. And we're coming off a year with the most murders since the Latin King Wars, and a young 17-year-old was just murdered the other day, right? So we need to change our mindset, right, on what we project as leaders, and stop thinking that you have to have a certain type of pedigree in order to lead this community. Let's focus on the neighborhoods, and let's start saving some lives.
Exactly.
110%. Growing up, every summer I was a part of Pope Park.
Yes.
Pope Park had the summer recreational camp,
Yep.
but around that time when I was, again, growing up from 9 to 13 years old, I was taught how to swim.
Yeah.
The city had funding to the point every Friday I went to a New York Mets game. I was going to a New York Yankees game. They brought, and I bring up this story to everybody, they brought, animals in the gymnasium at Pope Park. It was, that was the first time I ever touched a chinchilla.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean? Like, you ever touch a chinchilla? Because they soft as hell. But again, like, I'm 9 years old touching a chinchilla. I don't even know what the hell that is. They had funding. There was a spot in Pope Park where we went learning Photoshop. They were giving us free meals.
Yeah.
And then me, when I go back to Pope Park, and I go over there, I'm like, hey, how's the summer programs? Like, are the kids still going on trips? They're like, oh, they stopped that years ago. And I look at them like, what do you mean you stopped that years ago? Like, the kids need that type of stuff. Again,
They do.
like you said, to avoid those risk factors instead of running through the city, doing dumb stuff, being on the block, being around the knuckleheads that's putting them in positions to end up being in a murder charge. Like, that type of funding needs to go back in those things to create those less risk factors.
And you know what's a part of that too is about impacting the culture and changing the culture. Because right now the culture is, you get out of jail, and 9 times out of 10 the person that's being released from prison is a person of color. It's you being in a neighborhood where you have to look over your shoulder because you might get robbed. Your cousin probably fucking your girl.
Damn.
Straight up, that's what it is now. You know what I mean? Like, that's the culture right now, and it's a shame. We shouldn't even be coming after each other. You know, we should be uplifting one another.
Let's snitch on each other in songs. I told the most guns. I just caught a body a week ago. Snitching on yourself and then indicting yourself on these things. Like, you think that stuff is cool? Like, yeah, I got 100 racks at my mama house, and someone that knows you, oh, I know where your mama lives. So let me go find that 100 racks.
Exactly. Like, when I say change the culture and try and like make the culture different, that's what I'm talking about right there. Is that shouldn't be the culture that we live in now.
110%.
Like, the culture that we should have right now is uplifting one another in the city. A kid that's blue-eyed, blind hair doesn't have to do that great, to be well. He will be straight, even if he doesn't do that great.
By default.
But a kid that looks like any of us, he has to be great so he can do well. So he could just get by. He has to be great. The other half of that has to come from the community. Bring back these programs and implement these different programs. Because I heard 2 weeks ago that we don't even have, I think it's called like the Real Film Festival or something like that.
Yeah.
That took place at Trinity. We don't have that no more. We got to try and bring back stuff like that. You know, and one of the things that I'm working on is trying to bring a film festival where you can have minorities from all around Hartford submit to that film festival and showcase their art. Because there are stories out here that should be told, that needs to be told.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it sucks that they feel like they have to hide that part of themselves away because they feel like the city doesn't want to accept it. That's why, you know, I talked to you about business to see if you can expand your production company, your streaming platform to a way where kids and young people from the community can get involved, right, and create projects and know that it's actually going to go somewhere.
So with my platform, that's what we're doing. Any school that got production, anything, I'm donating it to them. So now if we're dealing with that school, they're going to learn the process. It's not just a TV streaming platform. It's an economic development platform as well. But you're going to get all the resources on knowing how to market. If you want to do filming, any type of courses I ever brought, I'm giving it to them. Yeah. Because I could give them the plate, but they got to know how to set the fork up, to set the table up, and know how to eat it properly versus they just making a mess of it. So now once they learn how to eat it properly, they can prepare it for the next person, prepare it for their little sister, prepare it for their little brothers, even show their mothers, like, look, Mom, we ain't got to go on TikTok and get paid a penny for every CPM. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't even know what the CPM is.
I don't know what it's. Can you tell me what it's?
It's the cost per licks. That's basically how you determine how you get paid. So it say now, like, somebody that maybe had like 2,500 people on their platform, they probably have a CPM of like $6.
Right.
On my platform, because of the volume so high, I'm somewhere between $25 and $40. So every 1,000 views, you make $25.
Okay. Got it.
So now, if you're making $1 million, you know how to add that.
So it's almost like a stock, then, right? Like the stock market, right? Like there's a value to your stock, but there's less volatility because you can actually, you know what that number is.
That you actually, like, these platforms know exactly what you make. But they just trying to utilize how many followers you can bring to the platform.
Yeah.
So it's all a game with them, but once you unravel it, you know how to cut them out. Like, well, I could just do this off my website. Yeah. So that's what people don't pay. A platform is just a website built into different technologies.
Again, I like to use expressions because that's all I see. The greatest thing when Tyler Perry finally started his studio, the best speech that he had is, they didn't want me to sit at his table. They didn't want me to sit at their table, so I just built my own table. And once you build your own table, look how much of a buffet you can give people, to use your expression again. Now using Tyler Perry, he created his own studio down in Georgia, creating jobs, funneling that, Wakanda.
And he started generating hella money.
No, of course.
Yeah, because Marvel and all them studios, they go to him now.
Yeah, because
they use all those Marvel films was done at his studio.
They went straight to him,
right?
Because now, again, he cut out the middleman, and now everyone's getting more of their cut.
You know, I think about it like from a political lens, like the opportunities for, movie production here in Hartford, right? Like, taking, innovation. I think we need opportunities for innovation, and I think about all these blighted buildings and these blighted properties, like the ability to maybe like cast like some kind of movie and using these blank spaces.
If you get elected as mayor, what are some programs that you're gonna put in place to make those productions happen for filmmakers to have an easy access to grants? Because I know for me myself, when I was doing Be Mine, I was looking for grant funding. It was very hard.
So I think a couple things, right? So have you ever wrote a grant before?
No.
Right. And so like let's be real. Like, we have to be honest with ourselves, right? Like, what happens is with grant writing, right, and those type of things, there's an infrastructure involved. Like, look, John, you're passionate about making the movies. You didn't go to school to write grants.
No.
Right? And so what we have to do is provide the opportunities and access to opportunities to help you get there. I think from a city side, right, ultimately, the success on folks is always going to be driven by your own ambition. What drives you to your future is your dream. And as a city government is to provide and remove the barriers so that you can achieve that. And so what I think is from a city side in terms of arts and culture, are we really marketing to the people that actually live here? Last year, there was no concert sponsored by the city that was in Spanish. we're 60% Latino here.
Oh, yeah.
How do we not have a Spanish artist, not one? And so, like, those are the opportunities, is to create a Department of Arts and Culture and Entertainment and be serious about it. What are the things that our people need, and let's provide it to them and let their own drive lead their way.
To add on to what you're saying, like,
Yeah.
this is just open thought. I'm questioning why the city, for example, as we know, the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest events in Hartford ever. But for some reason, the city hates it because we're all out from all day and all night. And my question is, instead of hating it, why are the cops dreading that day?
Yeah.
Why aren't you figuring out a way to capitalize it? Because
You got it.
everybody is outside ready to spend money.
So this is a sociological term, right? It's called administrative lag, right? So we are lagging in the ability to do all of the things around an event that brings close to 100,000 people over the weekend. Get a hold of it and monetize it. It may not be a CPM, but other people across the country are doing it, right? Puerto Rican, reggaeton music. Bad Bunny's one of the biggest artists.
Yeah, yeah.
When he goes to an event, those cities know how to control it, right?
It's global.
And so when you say from an administrative perspective, that it's uncontrollable, then what that means is I'm giving up. One of the things is, a lot of politicians are dream sellers. I'm gonna be a truth teller. That's what I plan on doing. Let's be real about what we're saying. When you move the event and you say that they can't control themselves, you're saying that a community of people are uncontrollable, right? There's some inherent racism in that statement,
Oh, yeah.
right? There's a level of condescension there that's saying that they can't control themselves. However, if you change it and you think about another event that exists in the city of Hartford that is wildly popular, and it's the St. Patrick's Day Parade, where drinking is marketed. And there's an actual marketing budget around it.
Yeah.
And the city of Hartford embraces that. We have the best deals on liquor. It has the most arrests. All of these things, and yet it's cleaned up. It's focused. We all know when it's going to be. But yet for the Puerto Rican Parade, there's no marketing budget put to it. There's no preparedness for it, right? All there is blame. Puerto Rican people can't get together in Hartford. They could get together around the world everywhere else. They get together every day in the island of Puerto Rico, but we can't do it here. And so those are the ideologies that we have to change, and we can never give up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
For me, being an artist and being a man of color, being a Puerto Rican, I think it all falls on the same thing and trying to get to where I'm trying to get to, and that's create this message, trying to inspire the youth the same way you gentlemen are trying to do in your own different paths.
Right.
We're working together now, trying to make sure that we set up these things in place, trying to make sure that the community and the youth has a better tomorrow, so that way there's programs set in place so that way they're not out on the street. And there's more artistic programs so that way they can get into filmmaking.
Right.
They can get into different productions. They can become artists. They can become musicians, whatever the case may be, right? But just express themselves. So that way the city doesn't have to keep watching the news and like, oh, this person died. No, you want to turn on that television, you want to see that this young kid, person of color, is doing an art exhibit or something like that, or making a movie.
Even talking about that, just backtracking a little bit too, going to the Miles Morales Across the Spider-Verse. There's a Lego scene in the second Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
That was made by a 13-year-old.
For real?
In that Spider-Man movie, that Lego scene with Lego Spider-Man,
Yeah.
that whole scene was made by a 13-year-old child.
Wow.
And it's in a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's to the big scene. So imagine the little stuff. If you just give someone that opportunity, what they can create. But the first thing is take the art class out, take the funding out of there, take the music class out, and you're taking away people's expressions. They have no choice but to be outside and be in the negativity that we're trying to avoid.
So that was like one of the reasons why I created my nonprofit. My specialties, I've been doing events since like 1998. I ended up creating a big national event. I sat down with the financial advisor and the financial planner. He told me, what I'm about to tell you is going to set your mental back, but it's going to set you up for longevity. We need to put sustainability in place of this. And that's what our communities, everything lacks, is sustainability. Because when they give us that funding, when it comes down from the government, wherever it comes down from, nobody has the mindset of, well, let me treat this funding like I'm never going to get it again. dependent on the government,
Right.
they could turn the water off and on anytime. So that's why communities don't last with the community centers, the programs, none of that, because now we are dependent on them giving us the money to run it. Now, if businesses structure it up different to where now we actually kick these door downs and get some money through for these programs, the first thing that should be created is sustainability plan. So I created my nonprofit. I named it as a national charity event. So now the money that comes out of that national event will start making these pots in every state to create the sustainability funnel. All the programs, everything that I have, any companies, nonprofits that attached on to the mission, we got a sustainability funnel to put our programs in these schools. So we ain't going to ask for grant money. We're not going for no. So we're going to provide a service.
We have the capital. We just want you to put it in your school system.
That's it.
That's it. We already got it. We just want you to do it.
Because we know the system don't work. Everybody keeps screaming that they know it don't work, but it pays them, so it's going to continue to work for them.
Oh, of course.
So that's just the process that we got to get through our head. Like, everybody keeps saying, yo, we got to change it. We're not changing that, guys.
No.
Just like how you said, we got to figure out how to get through those obstacles. So that's what I've been doing. Everything I know that needed to make the national situation happen, I ended up investing into every piece of it by myself. So now I can intern a student. So that's how I created it. And what I did was I franchised the platform in every state. Well, first, before even starting in the U.S., I started in international. So we started in Latin America, just because I know the numbers of the Hispanic part.
Oh, 110%.
And how to get things out there. We know that the number, their unity is bigger in that community.
To add on to that, within the past 2 to 3 years, I don't know if a lot of people notice, a lot of artists finally realize how big the Spanish community is. And if you notice, since like 2018, every album has at least one Spanish artist now.
Yeah, they collaborating more.
You saying that is exactly what everyone else is doing. They don't realize how big the Hispanic community is to capitalize. And not saying using it as a dollar, but just, again, using the community to gain what you're looking for.
I manage artists as well. What I tell them is that, you know, you don't gotta know Spanish. Make your rap song. We're gonna take that same content, you just make video and everything, and we're gonna dub that into Spanish. You just made a second bag. You know what I'm saying?
The Justin Biebers, the Meek Mills, they do their album, and then look, just get someone to dub it, and then boom, now you got it in German, Spanish, any other language you need, patois, whatever. Just boom.
So just think about it. How you think they go overseas and already be blowing up? And they just think, why they love me like that over here? Because they done been playing dub your music so many times over here, you ain't even know. They got rich over you when you got over there, you hot.
Back in like 2017 when Tyga had his tax and money and stuff like that, he went straight to Japan and China and made all his money back. Then he came up and made Taste with Offset. Then everyone's like, whoa, Tyga back. Tyga not back. He always been doing it. He just
when he got his money up more, and now he got more money pushed behind him.
Boom. And now Tyga is one of the biggest artists again in when it comes to music.